Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to talk about the first topic under your task statement 3.4, which is deciding when to use EC2 hosted database or AWS managed database. Now, this is one of the important questions, and you will definitely get a question from this topic, and you will get definitely two questions from this, complete task statement, 2 to 3 questions, I would guess, but every exam is different from one another, so it may be different a little bit. But do remember that look up on the cheat sheet before you proceed to the exam, or if you're preparing this particular videos, you can actually refer the cheat sheet, which actually has some detailed information on these topics as well. So now let's go ahead and understand the EC2 hosted database. Now here we have the full control over database over here. So this means that if you need complete control over your database configuration, operating system, the underlying infrastructure, hosting on EC2 will give you that flexibility, and that's the first reason why you should host a database on EC2 instance rather than AWS managed database. Now, the next one is the custom database requirements, which is, I can say, and as an example, suitable for specialized or legacy database not supported by AWS managed services, or if it needs a specific version and that version is not part of your managed database, then in that situation, you have to go for a EC2 hosted database. Now, in EC2 hosted database means that you need to configure the database yourself. So in that way, you can configure the version of database you want and then stop patching that database because you have a custom requirement that it should be on a specific version because your application doesn't support the further versions of that database. So in that situation, you have a plan for upgrade or getting yourself out of the situation. So until that is met, you kind of hold it out. The next reason why you have to host on the EC2 hosted database is high customization needs. Like ideally, when specific organization or customization, for example, custom cache or storage setup, right, are required for the managed server, which may not be supported at this level. So in that situation, you can have the database hosted on EC2 instance. The existing licensing model is also another one. So if your licensing is going to expire and when you have a database with a specific licensing model that you prefer to manage it yourself, or that particular database has a different licensing model for a cloud-based managed server licensing, in that situation, until the license expires, until you renew your license, you can actually have that hosted. Or if you're planning to move to a managed database and with no licensing fee where you directly pay to AWS for the cost. So until that migration happens, you kind of have that hosted on a EC2 hosted database. So that's the difference, because EC2 hosted database is as similar as you hosting a database on your data center, because you will be actually having operating system. On top of that, you will have database. On top of that, you will have the network configuration. So the similar thing, you can do it on EC2 hosted database as well. When you compare that with the AWS managed databases like Amazon RDS, DynamoDB, Aurora, some of the managed databases, you have the first one is that reduced operational overhead over here. Now, this is very important, where you manage database that handles its backup, its patching, and automatic updates, you know, freeing up your time for development and other activities rather than worrying about your infrastructure or your database management. So you don't really have to do that. That's one of the biggest advantage of AWS managed database. So you can dedicate most of your time for developing new products or developing new data models and other activities, right? So that's pretty much saves a lot of time. The next one is about the scalability and high availability. The managed server offers built-in features such as automatic scaling, read replicas, multi-availability zone deployments, and backup for disaster recovery. So these are some features which you need to add more servers and then create such situations for you if you're hosting it on EC2. But these are available by default over here on the AWS managed database. Now, this is very important feature for you guys, so you just have to remember that. All right, now the next one is about enhancing security and compliance. Now, this is one of the important things where AWS managed database comes with the integrated security features such as encryption, rest, and transit, IAM integration, compliance with various standards. So these are something which is part of it. And the next one is about the cost effective for standard use cases. For typical database use cases, managed services often reduce cost associated with database administration and infrastructure management. So in that situation, also it helps you out. And then finally, seamless integration with AWS services, like if you're using other services which is integrating with this database, it can be optimized for that. So for example, you can use Lambda function, you can use S3, you can use CloudWatch, and much more, many tools we can discuss about which you can actually integrate it with AWS services. So what we have seen so far in terms of monitoring, in terms of logging, getting the logging information, in terms of connecting with the external storage like S3. So that's something which you can do as part of your managed database services. On a summary, on a whole, choose an EC2 database when you need to have the full control, custom setup, or using a specific database which is not part of your managed database services. Opt AWS managed database, which is high. Advantage of that is ease of maintenance, scalability, high availability, security, and integration with other AWS services. So this is the key factors why you should choose. Now the questions would come in the same way. So they would be asking you, I want like a high available, scalable, maintainable, ease to maintain database, and which one would I choose from, EC2 hosted database or AWS managed database? So you just have to choose the right one. So this is the actual kind of question which would come on your exam. Well, thank you again for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one.